Africa, West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, SADC, how you are doing. Welcome to IG World Network, where we go around the globe giving you the latest in the world of news. It is the news for people by people. We're coming again today from a location that we cannot disclose to you, Africa, but we can share with you that we have our guest that we've interviewed in the past, almost a year ago now, where he has done some amazing work in terms of forensic investigation of what has happened in South Africa. There's a lot that is happening in South Africa at the moment. We are busy covering stories about the happenings in the states of South Africa, financial sector, political sector, and social cohesions in South Africa at the moment. But we will get to hear about him, what he has to tell our viewers this afternoon. So catch him and listen carefully what he has to say to us. Fondse, they call him Funny, they call him Mr. Ndlovu. Welcome to IG World Network.
Thank you, Mantla.
Can you maybe just give our viewers that are watching for the first time today, who is Adriaan Fondse?
Thank you, Mantla. I try to be brief. I am born South African, from the Free State.
Yeah.
I grew up on a farm, so I had harmony with all the different nations that was represented on the farm. So I grew up in a situation where this strife amongst the tribes never stick to my bones. So after my matriculation, I was called for military service. I spent some years in special forces, and a certain event made me resign because it made me realize that something seriously is wrong. It cannot be political orientated as we perceive it to be, or ideology way also. And then it made me start to investigate what is really going on. So around about 1982, I then start to investigate the banking system on my own. Later I joined some groups under a pseudonym, just not to immediately expose myself. So I did follow quite a lot what was happening in the world of finances over a long time. And then I was employed with Denel and Armschool. In Denel I had the position of a systems engineer responsible for technology. So when I speak about technology, I think I'm a little bit qualified by experience to voice an opinion on that. I've been employed there for almost 20 years. And at the time when I resigned, I received within a month invitations from African states to visit them and assist them with picking up their economies. It is strange, they didn't ask for the economist and to come and assist them. But anyway, I think I know a lot about the economy. And visiting them, I immediately realized what is the problem. The problem is the lack of investment or investment capital, as was perceived at the time. But in the end, it also proved not to be true. So we decided we're going to start an alternative marketing channel for Africa's minerals, and we created a company in Lusaka, Zambia. But then, when we start to initiate the business, all of a sudden it was a high-powered financial houses, including the South African Reserve Bank, Old Mutual, Nedbank, Old Mutual Bank, by the way, was never a legal entity, and I do have the documentation to prove that, who has was created to cipher off monies from all the policyholders of Old Mutual. And as far as I can establish, it was already in operation in 1972.
Wow.
Now, it became important to know this because one of the conditions of the so-called CODESA was the movement of Old Mutual offshore to London. And that also, if you really understand what they are doing, the politics is just another tool for this international criminal organization that is in essence is a liquidation syndicate. They utilize anything to force liquidations on companies and even countries.
Once we are there, Fanny, let me just take you back. Thank you for that introduction and the background, because it is very important. Like we always say, for us, it is news for people, by people. We want to first understand what authority do you have to speak highly about African governments and South African government, about corruption, about what has happened in the African continent and in South Africa. But let's just fast forward. In our first interview we had with you, you were you invited us at the Union Building in South Africa, in Pretoria to be precise, where you were introducing the International Tribunal of the World Peace.
Yes. Thank you for asking that, because let me just show you by way of the document. That is a document that was served on the presidency, and this document was created in terms of the Constitution of South Africa, Section 33, 34, 38 and 39 to be precise, and which was created for the situation where a government became so corrupt and under control of a organized crime syndicate that no legal process will solve it anymore.
Okay, just hold on there. Can you explain to our viewers, when you talk about a criminal syndicate, who are you referring to be precise?
Well, if you...
Let's take it in the South African perspective.
Yeah, in short, it is an international organized crime syndicate, predominantly in the finances and in the legal systems. They do capture first, or most of the time, first the financial system, and secondly, when the financial system is captured, it's easy to capture any other system that is required. And in South Africa's case, the whole judiciary is captured, which will come out in our discussions.
Can I find out something here? Did you receive any feedback from the States? Because you send the President's office the state in this. Was there any feedback on that?
No, there was none. You see, except that where I did mail it to them, yes. I did receive automatic acknowledgement of receipts.
Yes.
So there's no way that they can't say they haven't received it. Over and above that, it was served on them by hand also. But that is their strategy, because in the normal wake of a legal system, you have to have a domicilium, and when they serve papers on you, it is deemed that you have received it and that you are now obligated to act accordingly. What they are doing is just keep quiet and ignore it.
Okay.
So in that way they do two things. They obstruct justice by not reacting, and also they delay it in such a way that there cannot be any reasonable engagement from any perspective, however you want to see it.
Okay. Okay. Let's come back now to your initial story where we were talking about the financial system, the capturing of the financial system. When we got into understanding your background, what is your link with the South African Central Bank?
Well, I'm a shareholder at the South African Reserve Bank, and that has provided me with access that other people wouldn't have had access. It provides me also with a more direct way of challenging the illegal stuff that's happening in the banking system. And it's not only in the South African Reserve Bank. It is in the commercial banks, it's in insurance companies. And it is basically run by a illegal monopoly created that is called the Bank Association of South Africa. Now, you can choose the name so that it doesn't appear to be a conflict of interest, but it is.
Okay.
Because it creates a forum where all the banks and all the insurance companies act as one against whoever is challenging them, either in principle or in law.
In your investigations, is there a particular, or just give one institution in terms of the financial institutions, maybe the banks, that you've investigated deeply and you have tangible evidence of what you find there?
Well, I've criminally charged the president in 2021 on a lot of charges, which also include racketeering. And some of those, because the evidence is now surfacing from various positions in society, because what I believe has forced it in the open is that I believe almost maybe a month, a little bit more, we arranged a meeting with the National Prosecuting Authority, who in fact is charged with protecting the people of South Africa legally against corrupt practices. And what was disclosed in that meeting, that it was in fact the National Prosecuting Authority who was mainly responsible for the corruption that flourished in South Africa by those people not doing what they are supposed to do. So, and they also then in that meeting understood that I didn't pitch up there by myself to be easily silenced. So I brought along a few traditional leaders to witness what is going on. So it then, I believe, put a lot of pressure on the system.
Yes. And
now they have decided, the organized crime syndicate, they must now offer someone.
Okay.
And the best one to offer now is the president himself, who has no popularity amongst the people anymore because of only promises and nothing that is being produced.
Okay. You mentioned that you've opened a case against the paper. Is there a case number?
Yes.
And where was it opened?
It was open in Sandton.
Sandton Police Station?
Yeah, Sandton Police Station. Here's a document.
In 2021?
Yeah. Case number 318 of the 4th, 2021, and you can see it has been received by the state capture and also by the police service. And I had preliminary meeting with General Katwa on the two criminal cases that I did open. The other one was against FW de Klerk. and Maria Ramos. And here is that criminal charge with the case number 3663 2021. Also at Sandton, it was then transferred to Pretoria on the case number 823 of the 3rd of 2021, Pretoria Central. Now, in this specific criminal charge, they could have been made immediately arrest because the evidence that was presented is prima facie.
Before you get into that, the first case that was also opened at the Sandton police station against, what were the allegations that were put forward?
Well, it's basically all the charges that is has a common interest in common law. Now, your criminal law system operates on common law transgressions, mostly. Otherwise, it's civil, and it's been heard in the civil courts.
Okay.
So, and that is, in my understanding, the difference and explanation between the difference between a criminal case and a civil case.
Okay. Okay. Now, Ramos, Sergio Ramos, is it Maria
Ramos, yeah.
Yes. What was the case? What was the allegation against her?
Well, it's not only an allegation. She acknowledged that in order to bring President Zuma in disrepute, they deliberately trade down the rand so that the economy fall. And that action by herself and a few other bankers all over the world causes the country a damage of at least $12 trillion of rand. So 12 trillion rand is a serious harm to the economy of South Africa. And many of the people who today hasn't got food to eat, that action can be directly linked to that. So it involves at the same time murder, and it's planned. You see, such a thing doesn't happen by a blink in the eye.
Yes.
All those things, it is methodical and it's planned in an organization. It cannot happen by one person on its own.
Now, have you received any update between these two police stations, the Sandton police station in terms of the investigation of the state president in that case number, and the one that was then transferred to Pretoria? Did you receive any feedback in terms of anything that was done, or there was no feedback at all?
On this one of FW de Klerk and Maria Ramos, I did work with the Hawks on making them understand what in fact has happened. So I did spend quite some days with him.
Yes.
But you can see that all the people are afraid.
Yes.
For participating in these investigations. And that is the problem when you are in a system where your court system is captured. So you haven't got a legal avenue to recall on to protect you. And everyone knows, in that disciplines know that.
Okay.
Even though if they are senior police officers, that is honest. So we must just be mindful that we don't create a situation and say there's no honest policeman. That's not the truth. But they are captured in a system that is predominantly and systemically corrupt. It was designed to be corrupt.
Now, the option that you had, I'm sure it was to go to the commission that was investigating state capture in this country. I see the documents when you showed us that they were submitted to the state commission. Did Zondo investigate them?
Not at all.
So it was kicked out there as well?
Well, you must also understand that through my investigations, wherever there's a commission being called upon,
Yes.
it is not to enhance the application of law, it's to hide the transgressions of in law.
Okay. Okay.
You see that the same that has happened with the Marikana Commission. Now, the Marikana Commission should have presented the answers that the lawyers now pursue in a private capacity and funding it themselves to bring some justice. That should, if that was supposed to be the mechanism to bring justice, it didn't bring justice.
Okay.
The thing with the Zondo Commission, and I can name a few things that was imminent, that it is being designed to be a cover-up. First of all is that the company that provided the security with the Zondo Commission was also Buzaza.
The very same company that they were investigating.
Yes, supposed to be investigated. So all the footage that was taken at the offices where the documents was received was utilized to scare off the people and to and at some point in time, myself and other people of the community went there and to demand a hearing or a sitting with the commissioner, and it didn't happen.
Yes.
So I did write several reasons why it should have happened, and it never happened. We didn't receive an answer. So what it also shows us that the links between the people selected to be the officers in the Zondo Commission is extremely questionable. Because in terms of your Prevention of Corruption Activities Act 12 of 2004, they all have received it, and they were obligated to do something about it, but none has done anything with that information, not even an interview.
Okay, now we've got that. Let's just get, there was an evidence of some sort that I was seeking to find, Mr. Alfonso. Is there a bank that you can say, I've investigated this bank and these were my findings?
Well, let me put it to you. Over the years I've investigated and I've got in the criminal charge of the president. Absa Bank is very prominent there.
Absa Bank, yes.
And obviously you'll find that the Reserve Bank is very prominent in that, and when the Reserve Bank is very prominent in that, it means that all the banks is very prominent because of their affiliation with the Bank Association of South Africa, who act as one. So it looked to me that as fair that we say if one is part of it and they decide amongst themselves that they act as one, all of them are involved, and it proved to be the truth.
So what wrong did you find with Absa specifically?
Well, the whole system.
Yeah.
Let me put it to you, let me name a few. The Surti wealth, the Surti family wealth.
Lesotho?
Surti.
Oh, Surti.
Yeah, Surti family
Oh,
wealth.
Surti, yes,
Yes.
yes.
That was misappropriated by the Reserve Bank, Absa and all the other banks. They've received money from what can be debated whether they did or not, but I believe they did. And as far as I am allowed to investigate without the inspection powers of the police, I can say they all benefited from that, illegally, to the detriment of all the people in South Africa.
How much money are we looking about? We're talking about here?
You are talking about trillions of dollars.
Trillions of dollars. That was moved from South African Reserve Bank into the commercial banks.
First of all, the money was received from trust funds overseas.
Okay.
And it can only be received via Reserve Bank.
Yes.
And I do have documentation to that effect from where it was disseminated. Now, and it may sound contradictory to you, but I'm not a person that believes in the apartheid, and I can use a strong word, bullshit.
Yeah.
Of blacks against whites, it was never. It was part of the tools of this syndicate to steal everything from the population. There, for instance, and that is easy how you can fall into this with a never-ending kind of discussion, but the proof is in the pudding. And let me just show you. And I'm going to run you ahead a little bit. Here is, for instance, the submission to the Zondo Commission on the theft of 178,000 metric tons of gold.
How many?
178,000 metric tons of gold. Now, there's a lot of counterintelligence jargon that they're producing and stating that there can never be so much gold being mined. And
yes.
And let me prove that wrong immediately. Here is a copy of the Committee of 300 Minutes, where the banks, South African banks, is registered, the accounts, and there specific, it is notarized that on the 1st of January 1966, the South African Reserve Bank has received 100,000 metric tons of gold. Now, this minutes is signed off by all heads of states. And in South African context, it was signed off by President Thabo Mbeki. It was signed off by Minister Trevor Manuel, and it was signed off by the ambassador to the UN, Mr. Kumalo. So, in terms of the noble regulations of authority on audits, they have confirmed that is the gold that should have been with South Africa.
Okay, if you're saying that the former President Thabo Mbeki signed and acknowledged and received, so he received or he sent out that gold, what was he signing? He confirmed
that was the status of the gold received on the 1st of January 1966.
So he was acknowledging that gold is here in South Africa, or it was outside South Africa by then?
South Africa.
Or it was in South Africa. Okay.
That is what the signature. Now, if they have just blindly signed, it's not my problem, it's theirs.
Okay.
But nevertheless, it's not only signed off by them, it is signed off by the whole Committee of 300. And it's also signed off by the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. So how more can one prove that there's no debate on the legality of the statement I made?
So in that way, that gold, we supposedly now, it's supposed to be with the South African Reserve Bank sitting somewhere. Okay. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we will see you on the other side when we continue with our discussion with Mr. Adriaan Fondse. We're just mentioning to us that yes, it was signed by former president confirming that the gold is there, and then the Reserve Bank. So we were then looking on our files when we were not investigating. We don't investigate, we try and find the truth of what we've had. The Reserve Bank confirmed with us that there is no there is no gold in South Africa. If you go to their place where they keep safely, gold, or let me say mineral resources. But what they said, that it is investment, it is in an investment abroad for South Africans. So is that a story that is adding up when they respond like that?
Well, first of all, the fact that if they have confirmed that, it shows that they have acted illegally and criminally. And I will show it to you, because once again, in the world system, you cannot have better authority than all the judges on the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court sign off that they've also confirmed that the audit process was correct. Now, if you then go to the World Bank Infinity Financial Statements, you'll see that there's specific determinations being made, and this was the last audited financial statement of the World Bank. And I can read any one of those. The conditions on how it should be applied. For instance, this is for Standard Bank South Africa, with account number 425973481, with account name of White Spiritual Boy, and with a stake balance of US Infinity, and the account number 777-625334AM-521, with an amount name of Spiritual Wonder Boy, and with standing balances of US Infinity confirmed as an eternal deposit. While on the time of deposit, this principal balances and interest cannot be touched and or loaned and or programmed. That having maturity rate at 4% per annum, and at the 30 years of maturity, upon maturity, 50% shall forcefully be utilized for whatever development program, and 50% shall be automatically and forcibly maintained and preserved for another 30 years until lasted eternity.
Okay, before you move that's Standard Bank, right?
All the other banks same.
The other banks same. Has the 30 years elapsed?
Yes. From receipt of 1st of January 1966.
Okay.
1st of January 1996. Have you witnessed an development program funded by this gold received or by this account? No. Why not? Because the banks illegally hold all this wealth off ledger. So it's not visible to the public, not anywhere in the world exist. That is why it's easy to make a statement and say, but I do not know what I'm talking about. But believe me, I know exactly what I'm talking about, and I can bring witnesses that has done the audited work on this in the Reserve Bank that can confirm that.
So now for South African citizens, they can wake up in the morning and go to Standard Bank and say, Standard Bank, can you give us audited statements that those monies have matured, or those monies they are not maturing, or those monies were lost, if that could be the reason,
It is
from 1966 to date?
Let me show it to you. They will not answer the people because it's not on the audited statements.
Oh, okay.
And here is, for instance, your Euroclear. Now you can track this monies and the balances in that account also with Euroclear. That is a totally independent verification method. So there's no way for them to and once again, you'll see that the Euroclear is also signed off by the World Bank Group Chairman. So it's not that there's a escape. And here, for instance, is Standard Bank account, and you can see it's 2015. And here it shows a balance in Standard Bank, South Africa, 600 trillion US dollars. Trillion.
When was that?
2015. Now, and I want to link it now to the World Economic Forum, because that forum is just a stage, and it's utilized bullshit baffles brains. That appears to be this important people who has made name for themselves, but in fact they are only AHs. And they don't know their noses from their feet. And you see there that, for instance, the guy that in the last sitting, I think Mark Carney,
Yeah.
they claim to be the one who is in control of the finance of the world. He better climb out of that position ASAP, because he will remove soon and it will not be nice. Also, what is, you should understand that this funds,
Yeah.
under control of the Committee of 300, that is basically strong represented at the World Economic Forum, belongs to the people. It is not the money of either one of them, of the committee members of the Committee of 300. It's a people's money. But because it's now off ledger for so long, and the people doesn't know that their wealth is off ledger, they can get away with this bullshit. So those monies, and even the world financial system, belongs to the people. There's not even a Rothschild that can own it, because a legal principle linked to that is a property construct that is common to all. It's called res communis. It cannot be owned. It's the same like the air in this house. I can claim it's mine, but you are breathing it. How can I prevent you from breathing it? It's common to all. So they have no legal entitlement to owning the world financial system. It belongs to all the people. And they better get off their horse quickly.
Okay. Now, here's a very important aspect for us, because we want to link it to the modern activities, which is today's. And that evidence that you've just showed our viewers and showed us, it's evident as good as 7 years ago, which is 2015. And it's quite new that the balance of the money was still there. So, which means the high possibility that the money is still there, but is not utilized for what it was intended to. So, is there anyone that has questioned that from Standard Bank particular, to say, where is the money for the development of South Africans?
Well, there's a lot that I can produce to you on that. But let me just go one step back to the World Economic Forum. Because in this World Economic Forum, they claim that they will be the rescuers of the world in terms of finances and make a $50 trillion investment in the next years to come. It's not their money, it's ours. So the simple thing is just keep your fingers off the money of the people. We will manage it ourselves. You are incapable and incompetent.
So they want to borrow South Africans their money with interest?
Yes.
Okay.
Now let me show you on Standard Bank.
Oh, you're sharing this.
Yeah. This is a email sent to one of the persons that was working for Standard Bank that wanted to do the right thing. Now, this was in a trade program where there's a lot of money being available. Now, and this was already available in 2014. And the Standard Bank refused to release this money for development programs. Whatever the reason is, Not releasing it is illegal because it's not theirs. It was the monies of the South African public. Now, let me read what they are saying here, and I'm not going to quote the person's name now. It's addressed to a specific person by Mr. Simon Dugat from Standard Bank, an executive. The entire basis of our relationship and business with you, your desk, is based on privacy. Why must the money of the people be in privacy? We have convinced and manipulated the parliament.
Wow.
And other authorities to change laws and regulations in both banking and regulating agendas. So they change laws how they feel fit to steal. That's simple. Those of us involved, including the general manager, who was part of this, know how badly it can turn out. News for you. It is going to turn out that way for you now. Walk away from that meeting. Our board will swiftly return what is due to you if you keep to the privacy which you know we are all reliant on. So their position to steal is reliant on the privacy and the silence, the induced silence. Take a hint. If you expose us, we expose your private nature and the entire country collapses. It was all the way they planned to collapse the country. And the only way why they try to force this person to keep quiet is that as they can delay it as long as possible. At the time it will not be recoverable at all, and then they claim to take possession of all the assets of the people with their own money that I've just now shown you. There's over $600 trillion in the account of the people in Standard Bank alone.
Now, this person are the shareholders writing to this person, or is just the CEO that is writing?
He confirmed that the whole executive is agreeing on that.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2016.
Okay. It's quite recent. It's
quite recent. So, but everything of this confirmed it, and I have the detail of all these accounts. Which for obvious reasons I do not now want to flaunt that over the international media, but it's there.
Yes. So where is this person now? He or she kept quiet?
Yes.
So she took her money and then kept quiet.
Well,
she's just living a normal life.
It is debatable whether she took the money or he or she took the money.
Yeah.
A similar person that I knew, Colin Shabani.
Yes.
Colin Shabani was involved with me, as far as I recall, in the so-called investigating of this so-called Gaddafi money, which is not Gaddafi money.
Yes.
And Colin Shabani was when he didn't want to tow the rope, he was killed. How did they kill him? They exchanged the chip of his BMW with a chip that was bought in Communica in Midrand and reprogrammed. And it was reprogrammed in such a way that it created a situation where the car was uncontrollable by him.
Wow.
And it caused an accident where he then lost his life. Now it appears like it's a car accident, but it is planned murder. And there are many similar cases. Many.
Okay, let's just come back to this one, because it's in heart of the tongues of every South African at the moment. The issue of the Gaddafi money. You know, we've been hearing these stories that Libyans are crying out to South Africans that you took our money and we are worse off now after our leader was brutally, you know, assassinated or killed by Americans. We know now that, but, you know, the money that was stored or banked with you, South Africa, we never brought it back to Libya.
Well, first of all, one has to be careful how you name the people. First of all, he was not killed by Americans. Maybe the American army was a tool without them knowing about it. It is similar that many, and even myself at one stage when I was in the defense force, I was a tool for many things that I do not know or have the understanding why it was for. And similarly, my opposition. I've met some of my opposition, and when we exchanged notes, we came to the same conclusion. We were just utilized by the criminal gang to oppose one another and kill one another while they are raping our country. It is exactly the same that has happened in Libya. The predominantly thinking about it, it was stolen money.
Yeah.
That's not even Gaddafi's money or Libyan money. It was coming from another source, and it was then feed into Libya by secret actions of Hillary Clinton, Sarkozy from France, and Tony Brown. And now after it became known that the atrocities, and now Tony Brown, he take responsibility. What is the responsibility taken meanwhile? Is he returning the people's lives that he caused to be lost by deceiving practices? Now, this submission to the Zondo Commission deal with that.
Yes.
Now, and the amount that was stolen from the funds that was earmarked for the development of Africa is astonishing. It is more than $19 trillion.
That was submitted to the Zondo Commission as well to investigate.
Now, in here you find, for instance, that I do have the accounts of the Libyan money in Standard Bank, and the balances of that money is not nearly $90 trillion. And there's no way that that amount was available in Libya. So the plan was to create this war with Libya and steal those monies.
Okay.
So it was stolen at another place, feed into Libya, creating the war with Libya, and then confiscate all the money for private gain. Now, and that is why I do have this formal appointment.
By who?
From the Mahayapahit Kingdom, and you'll see that it is addressed to the World Bank, to the Bank of International Settlements, to International Court of Justice, and the International Criminal Court, and to heads of states, state treasury, central banks, and state citizens. So I'm free to deal this with you. And you'll see that it is properly authenticated. There's my passport, together with the person who has authorized this recovery of these funds, which was now from the money that was then sent to Libya. When President Gaddafi then realized what is happening and they are coming for him, he disseminated this money into Africa.
Okay, in different countries.
In different countries.
Okay.
Now, in that way...
Is South Africa one of those countries?
Yes, South Africa is one of them.
Okay.
Now, from the $22 trillion that I can establish, 8.7 trillion of that money has come into South Africa.
Via the banks, the financial system?
No, it was brought in with basically some of our SAA aircraft.
In cash?
In cash.
Okay.
I had a meeting with the Reserve Bank where they say they confirm that they have no knowledge of it and they were lying, all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I had the appointment from the state presidency.
Yes.
We knew about the funding, and you'll see even in that submission,
yes,
there's letters from the state president at that time to Jill Marcus,
yes,
and to the banks explaining, asking to explain what money has come in and for what reason. And that they even has responded. And there was not only money coming in, there was gold coming in as well as diamonds. And if I recall now correctly, approximately 6 million carats of diamonds, of which none was smaller than 5 carats, and it was choice grade diamonds. So the value of that by its own is over $12 trillion in my estimation. And I do not exaggerate. I rather take the lower end of the scale.
Now we are saying that the Reserve Bank said they had no knowledge of that kind of money. So when that money was brought into South Africa, where was it kept?
Well, it was kept in various places. At several of the South African national key points. In Overberg, in Cape. For VIP military installations, but it's been brought in on public expenses for private organized crime gangs to benefit from it. In my reasoning, it explains why SAA go under. Yeah. Because of that, from the Boeing's A200 flights, 69 of them were recorded going back and forth to Libya and back, loading approximately with a load capacity of 106 metric tons. So how are they going to pay for the usage of fuel for an illegal thing to be recorded on the books? And it's not the only one. There was private companies that was participating in flying it out of Libya, Hydro Air, Saf Air, and a lot of things that happened, but the fact is all the banks were part of it, and the Reserve Bank were part of it, and there's no way that they can say they no, because as a shareholder, and I can show it in the minutes, I've asked him directly, and they lied.
About the knowledge of the...
About knowledge, and they have the knowledge, because the letters I have predate that meeting.
Okay. Now, once we are still in that, there's a meeting that you had with the National Prosecuting Authority and the ID, Independent Directorate.
Yes. In
that meeting, you were raising this issue of the money, about $8 trillion.
Yes.
In cash. And one of the things that came out in that meeting was that there is now monies that were moved by either former president and the current president into different locations.
In what concerns me is neither one of them who has done either wrong. What concerns me is what they put forward to the National Prosecuting Authority. I need an account with the Reserve Bank where I can receive that money formally. Because we know what amount of money has come in. It belongs to the people of the country, and I want a facility to receive that. Once that facility is available, then we can see who has moved it. And it is as money laundering by all the banks.
So the money is moved by individuals and the banks, because the money, what I heard you say, it was not with the banks, but it was kept at the government national key points.
Yes.
Now, at the government national key points, who has then moved the money from the government national key points?
The organized crime syndicate in government and in the banks. And what we also see is that, interestingly now, all this money being moved to South Africa, and all of a sudden a British company is a head security company guarding this money.
Okay.
G4S. Now, since that has happened, G4S has so expanded in Africa that they are almost the sole security company in each and every country in Africa, funded by the money of the people. Or at least they must come with a different explanation.
So is G4S who's now guarding this money?
Yes.
But are they guarding it at the national key points, or are they guarding it at their own safes and
There was various facilities hired around the Oliver Tambo airport. And it was not the only place where it was stored. So obviously in places...
We're in that point where you were just explaining for us with this money in the national key points. And the question from me was, what can be done to, unveil this truth to citizens of South Africa?
Well, Mandla, that is exactly what we are doing now. And unfortunately there is no other way. But also to put pressure on to the national prosecuting authorities and the authorities to do what they are supposed to do. And I just want to show you that here is a copy of the Bank Association of South Africa web page. It's confirmed by the police. Now, there's many committees that has been steering by the Bank Association of South Africa, which confirm that all their work since its inception was to create a monopoly to the detriment of all the people of the country. And that is one of the reasons why I know that they ousted President Zuma. Because prior his leaving office, he had this statement of radical economic transformation. And he could make that statement not on stories, but he had visible some of the facts that I'm presenting to you today. So, and here you see, for instance, how they brag that they are in control of 10 departments of the government. The Bank Association of South Africa. Who gives them that right? It's not by the people. And then you see that the committees, and all kinds of committees, including the legal committee. So everything that is now operated in the courts of law is being verified and checked by the banks. Who gives them that authority? Private entities controlling all your personal data.
Yes.
They are now in position, even they are controlling your passports.
Yes.
That is, in all countries in the world, it was a function of government, not a function of a bank.
Okay. Coming to this very same story, funny, with the NPA. We have it with our sources that there is a leak recording, which was your meeting with the NPA, that landed. They've sent the voice note to us as well. It landed on the former president, Zuma. I think he contacted you to say, he heard that his name was mentioned in the meeting, but obviously they tried to twist what was being presented. However, the audio is quite clear what was said in the meeting, not what they initially got to
that
him.
They want to imply,
yeah, he got the audio. But what is now, let me ask this question. Do you know Mr. Arthur Fraser in person?
No.
You don't?
No.
Are you aware of the activities that he's doing at the moment?
You see, the meeting with the National Prosecuting Authority was strategic in disclosing of this. Because the first thing that I must say is that the people in that meeting was not directly involved with the atrocities. But now, wherever you go with this atrocity, everyone wants to pass the buck onto someone else because they don't want to control it, take responsibility for that. And it's a problem with the National Prosecuting Authority because a former head was directly involved in it. And it's those same people that arranged for the former president to be ousted. So, what now needs to be understood, it is the playground of these international criminals. They have visibility from many different places and see which card to play next.
Okay. I'm asking this if you knew Mr. Fraser at all, because in one of this leaked audio by NPA, by the way, there's a gentleman that is speaking that he is aware of a flight that was flown from Waterkloof base to the current president's farm where they were moving this money.
Yes, I'm aware of it too. And that's why I stated it's not $4 million, it's $4 billion.
$4 billion?
$4 billion.
Okay.
And it was 2 helicopters according to my research. And if need be, I will disclose it at a later stage exactly which helicopters, because it would not be a good practice to open it now.
Okay, so where I wanted to get into this, I wanted to link what Mr. Fraser is doing now. He's just doing his own thing, which he came across when he was doing his own personal or private investigation in whatever that he was investigating, and then he came across this this so-called $4 million that was being stolen there. So it is very clear. So the suspicion that that money is not the money it comes from the business that farm runs. So there's something not very clear.
No, it's definitely not.
But very interesting that the president, he's quite adamant that Mr. Fraser has lost his marbles and there's no truth in what he's saying and what he's doing. But he's done a clean business, and even all the odds they are going against the ethics of business, how much cash you can keep in your property, whether it's a business or personal. We've checked with the Bank of South Africa that apparently the maximum amount that you can have in your house
or is 25,000 rands that you can keep for your leisure in your property. But this $4 million, let's not even say $4 million, as they are disputing the amount. They say yes, there is an amount. Let's say it was 150,000 rands, not $150,000 that was discovered then. So the president was not honest and truthful about reporting a matter of crime in his personal facility.
Well, thank you. But it is obvious that he wasn't honest. And he's known for history not being honest. And by the way, here's a proof of the Surti family movement of money to Absa. And I believe that he was involved in all of those illegal transactions. Here is the letters of the prosecuting authority confirming all this illegal monies. And he has received those documents in person from me.
Wow.
As his lawyer, Billy Gundelfinger, whose secretary confirmed that after I've delivered that document to Billy Gundelfinger, within a half an hour after delivery, he has collected himself in person. So there's no way out. Here is, for instance, a list of the diamonds, and that is only a portion of it. And it's not that they can hide it away. There's my official appointment.
Official appointment by who?
By the presidency.
Oh, by the presidency, okay.
And they cannot recall it. And here you can see there's documents that confirm that the project's authorized by the state.
Yes.
So what are they going to do? What I believe is that the real scammers has decided now they've got a problem because they can't keep all these atrocities under the blanket anymore, and they decided they're going to offer the president now being very unpopular amongst the people also.
So they are sacrificing him now?
Yes. But that's too late. I will come for them.
Yeah.
And even though they think they can act against me, they will not be able to stop it, because this now is internationally going forward. And what is important also to realize what it means, that invokement of the International Constitutional Tribunal for World Peace, that he has also received. It means that that authority of the International Constitutional Tribunal is the highest legal authority in the land, even above the Constitutional Court. Whether they will want to claim that the people on that tribunal is not qualified, but it's not going to help.
Yeah.
Because there's a room for each and every tribe in the country and in Africa to be part of that tribunal. And we will disseminate what has happened, and we do have the evidence.
Now, in terms of what has happened now, we know Arthur Fraser has opened the case, criminal case. It will be investigated. If they investigate, maybe they will charge the president if they decide to, if they don't decide to. But in your process now, how far are you, and what is the next, steps that we are following to reveal this to the South African ordinary citizens and the continent?
Well, obviously, you will know that I do have powers of attorneys of quite a large number of traditional leaders, and which, if everything fails, that is the next highest authority of that can exercise control over the population, is the traditional leaders, which has now shown that the government and also the judicial system is so corrupt, you can't depend on anything from them. And it's not that I've gone unscathed with it. When I started to inquire the Reserve Bank on the theft that they committed against me and my company into Africa, in the development of Africa. They put out this against me worldwide. Money laundering for right-wing activities. Now, you know me for some time. I'm very far right.
Yeah.
A financial capability from a certain Mr. Becker. Methods used in access of funds in the US, of all places. Now, Mr. Fondse has got dual citizenship as well as his children, which is true.
Yeah.
I've acquired dual citizenship with my work in the NEL because it made it easier to access certain places. Younger son will be used to access some of the funds because he will start working in the US. Eldest son also involved. Now in the UK he was playing rugby. Mr. Fondse, highly capable man and very dangerous. Do you know me? Far right extremes, both, want to destabilize Africa. And it is so contradicting to what really happened. Wherever I go with the traditional leaders, we've agreed we will work as one. We will not oppose one another, but we will work as one to solve this problem, and we're going to keep peace at all cost. Because you can only solve this problem in a time of peace. And that is exactly what happened in KwaZulu-Natal, where they tried to force a revolt and pin it on President Zuma. Now, luckily President Zuma was a lot cleverer than that. He didn't react to the attack on him. And then it came out that behind that looting was in fact, and I say it as I receive it, was the president himself.
Wow.
So there's many ways on how you can make it appear like it is a person. It was not him.
It was not him.
No.
No, that has been clear. It's been clear, and the struggle is continuing with him and that. But maybe just to put into perspective our discussion today, and to help our viewers in the African continent, and also to help South African citizens. Everybody's anxious. The situation is getting worse every day, Mr. Alfonso. How can we pick them up or give them hope that is tangible, that tells them that it's just a matter of time before we cross this bridge?
You see, Mandla, that's a very important point. And let me approach it from a legal point. The banks hold so much money of the people of South Africa and Africa. While they are making loans to the people without releasing their own money to pay off the loans, they are in fact stealing everything from the people. Standard Bank of showed you with a balance of over 600 trillion. How many people homes has been expropriated by Standard Bank? This whole COVID thing was an international liquidation scheme to expropriate all the private ownership of all the assets and to consolidate it in this people that claim to be in control of the World Economic Forum, where you will look hard to find any brains there.
It is the stories that we are following, Mr. Fani, and for us is to give South Africans hope, because now we are hearing, we got a message on Friday that South Africans want to take not the law, they want to take a stance on the 10th of June, where they want to go into the streets and say, you know what, enough is enough. We can't continue like this. We can't survive any longer. That is based on the hike of the petrol in South Africa.
I understand it, but once again, I can also show you that in 2016, when I made the disclosures to Parliament, and when I made the disclosures to Parliament, I had each and every political party in Parliament sign a receipt for it. It is in the documents of what was disclosed to them. And at that time, the petrol price was around about 12 Rand 30 a litre. It worked out that more than 4 Rand per litre was going directly into the coffers of the bank. A bank is not a distributor of fuel. It's not part of his banking license. It was never supposed to be part of it. But that is what I was showing you. The illegal creating of monopolies, where they just, through this criminal actions, expropriate all the private ownership of all business and land to the banks. And what is interesting is, if you go back to the original deeds of South Africa, it's never been in the hands of the banks, but they've sold land. How did they then manage to sell land if they haven't divided the original title deed of the land? So it shows you that doesn't matter to what angle you look at it. It's an organized crime gang and the system. And that is also why I do agree with the former president when he say that this corruption is systemic. It is not a Zuma thing all of a sudden. It's a systemic thing. This theft of the gold was planned with the murder of Verwoerd. They knew that Verwoerd will not allow the gold to leave the country. So they killed him. And the other reason why they killed him, because Verwoerd returned the tribal land, which was expropriated by King George V, in opposition to their plan, which created a cascade of independence movement into Africa.
Yes.
And therefore they brand him as the father of apartheid, but he wasn't.
Yeah, I hope South Africans, they don't buy the story of fathers of apartheid, the fathers of criminal, like former President Zuma, that has been labeled as the face and the father of corruption in South Africa, and we hear that there are many people that are doing wrong things. But for African viewers, if you may assist us, you can follow our show so that you can be able to get more information about what is happening in South Africa, and we will try and also post some supporting documents in what has been revealed today. Like we always say, it is news for people by people. We don't tell fake stories, we don't tell hearsays, we tell you the truth as it is. Now we know that Mr. Arthur Fraser, he's got nothing to do with Mr. Adriaan Alfonso, and they don't even know each other. What a coincidence. What a coincidence that the money that is found in the same property is the money that was sent into this property, not for selling of animals, but money that was coming from somewhere else, which we know now. But once again, Mr. Fanny Alfonso, thank you very much for taking your time for our viewers in the African continent and South Africans, just to give them a highlight of what has gone wrong in their country and how they can be assisted. We just hope and ask the Almighty to give you strength and courage, not to give up and disappear and be scared to fight this fight. I don't even know, where ordinary citizens of this country could start to fight such a systematic corruption. But may God bless you and continue to give you strength and courage. So maybe as a departure point for you, what can you say not only to South Africans, but to our viewers in the African continent?
Well, thank you, Mandla. Just on that positive note, I'm involving in releasing money for South Africa and Africa. So on this stance on the 10th of June, it would be my plea with the people not to destroy anything. Those kind of destruction will only harm them in the end. And I'm busy with the releasing and working together with the release of huge amount of money. And in the meeting with the National Prosecuting Authority, documents was presented that I can bring in €1 trillion the day that the treasury account is open to receive it for this purpose. But it's refused. And it's refused, and it was confirmed by various sources that there's instruction out not to allow money coming into South Africa, for it will be the final toll of the bell that end the corrupt government. And it should not be, say, government of the ANC. That senior leaders, as is part of the document, was recruited by the same criminal organization long before they took power to be as corrupt when they took over from the National Prosecuting National Party. So we just have to stick with one another and live through it, and it will be sorted quicker than they think it would be. So money is available, and there's various amounts of money being available. Similarly, you find now that that same criminal gang is in control of the ANC. So when money comes into the country, it is the same criminal gang in the Thule House now that must decide on the release of those monies for project into South Africa. And if the people wanted it to be released, they then claim large percentages of those monies that the people have to repay.
Yes.
Similarly, you find that now, and I've investigated several of them, that is running into the billions of euros and dollars. So we just have to stick to one another and force a change in government. And part of the invokement of the International Constitution for World Peace brought forth the international and foreign law to be applied in this process. Now, whether they want to challenge it, and they have received many documents from my side. I've been appointed as a world judge for Africa from the UCC court system and legal system. So, and let's see whether they can come forward with something trying to block the implementation of the law and to hold them accountable.
No.
It will not happen.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Fanny Alfonso. We hear it, Africa. You hear it, South Africa. Even if you go to the streets on the 10th of June, let it be peaceful as we promote peace in this channel. We don't promote any corruption. We don't promote any hooliganism. We don't want people to take the law into their own hands when they protest. So we thank you again for watching the show this afternoon, and hope to touch base with you again next week. Until next time, Africa, adios for now.
Thank you, Mandla.
Thank you very much, Fanny. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's great. That's great.